Let's talk about emotional transmission. So, not necessarily regulation or blockage or forgetting emotions, but transmission. Emotions are essentially signals. Just like we get signals that we're seeing light or we're seeing dark or red or green, and we make choices on that, and we can even influence our hormones on what we're seeing. It's the same thing with emotions. Emotions are there as a signal for us to transmit and eventually act. And once we act, the emotion can move through us. Right. And a lot of times, if we're not moving those emotions through us, then it can explode out of us or it can leak out of us. And a lot of times it's leaking out of us into our words, it's leaking out of us into our actions, it's leaking out of us into our posture, into our facial expressions, which will then lead to wrinkles for those of you who care about that sort of things. Emotions that are commonly stuck in shoulder blades, right? You got this. I remember one of the facilities I had a gym at, actually one of my first main ones. It was SB Lofts at 6th and Main Street in downtown LA. Anyways, it was like a redone industrial building. I was on the penthouse, but I think on the 7th floor, there was a hairstylist. Her name was Helena. Anyways, she would give like little massages of the back, and she would tell me that most of the men that she sees, it was like a rock back there, because that's the posture holding this state of, which eventually turns into anxiety and stress and survival mode. Like you're ready to attack, you're ready to defend, and you're just permanently locked there. And that's because the emotions were never translated into anything. They're just stuck in the body. Where are you guys located for a session? All over the world. And actually, yeah, all over the world. Hi, Rock. Congrats on the baby. Just go to our website, go to the Human Garage page, and figure out how to find a practitioner. That is all getting better. We have too much demand and not enough practitioners. So seeing somebody in person might be a little bit difficult, and it's always way more expensive to take somebody's time. You know, if you're going to grab some, an hour session, which is really like 3 hours to a practitioner, because you can't really do anything before that hour or after that hour. So it's going to cost a lot to do that. But there's tons of stuff for free online on YouTube, and even people doing things in online communities. So you might find more information there, even on Instagram and Facebook. So guys, drop a comment right now. What emotion do you feel like you work through the most? So speaking of emotions, hi, I rediscovered you this weekend. In person or on here? Because I was doing stuff in person. Rob, thank you for being here. What are we talking about today? We're talking about emotions. We're eventually going to talk about how to move them through the body. And I'm just setting some groundwork on what they are and how they affect us, and just, some things that we might not think about on a day-to-day basis. My drink is over there. Should I go get it? I'm going to go get it. And then from there, so a little background on emotions. I'm not the most emotional person, actually, at all. It might be because I took a large amount of ashwagandha in my life. This can't beat this. You can get $50 off if you DM me iShop at raw_of_earth. So ashwagandha actually blunts emotions. There's a state that it's called adhenia, something like that. Adhenia basically means like a grayed out emotional state. Ashwagandha does that. Some countries have even banned ashwagandha because of that. What we use it for, if you guys go to a health food store and go to like the functional beverage section where there's like chill out beverages, and basically most of those are using ashwagandha because it makes people feel calm and relaxed, which I already am. So it also is like a testosterone enhancer, a hormone enhancer, which is why I took a lot of it, because of sports and being better than other men, competing, against them. Resentment. So these are emotions people would like to transmit: resentment, fear, brokenheartedness, resentment. I work through shame the most. fear of not having enough dollars for the next 35 of my life. I think that's 35 years, but a lot of us are, fearing they don't have enough dollars for the next 30 days of life. It's like we go on kind of like monthly bill cycles here. Disappointment, frustration, health scares, healings. What are you drinking? Oh, I said that. Nah, that's water soluble. Ashwagandha? I use it with cannabis. Well, there you go. Why are you using cannabis? Kind of the same thing, right? That relaxed state, but you use that too much, you become addicted, and then you need more of it. And then your pineal gland dries up. Cannabis, guys, we say that there's a endocannabinoid system, which means that the body produces these compounds that are in cannabis. So that means that we should be naturally okay with taking them from an exogenous source. And I did a fair amount of experimentation of that when I was later on in my life. I didn't really use it till I was over 30 years old. And that was, I was a business owner. I was a responsible person. I remember the first few times it felt like I went on vacation. Like because I would wake up at 5 a.m. at least every single day, drive to downtown LA. When I was actually just thinking about the other day, when I owned gyms, I woke up at 5 a.m. almost Monday through Friday, and I worked until 9 p.m. Monday through Friday for 10 years. And then I think about my life now, which kind of have like more of a part-time career, where I do more highly impacted stuff and earn much more money. And with Purium, which is kind of like we set up practitioners and businesses with superfoods to serve their clients. But it's a lot less work, which is what I needed as an older adult. But when I think back to when I was younger, just how hard and consistent I worked. And that's why I was successful. It was just like consistency every single day, getting up and doing the thing I was passionate about, no matter what, every single day, even if I was sick or tired or brokenhearted or anything. It was just, or bored or wanting to go on vacation. No, get up the next day, go to work. Once a year, once every few years, I get to go on a, week-long vacation. But that's kind of the key to success if you don't have any other way to achieve it. If you don't have an idea, or if you don't have a large sum of money to invest to hire somebody else to do that role, or you're not particularly skilled, just do something consistently. Find something to sell, a product or service, and do it consistently. You'll get better and better and better. You'll refine your technique. You'll refine your approach. You might pivot. And the only way any of that happens is if you do it every single day. If it's not working, you pivot and you do that every single day. If it's not working, you pivot again. And then after doing that every single day for a few years, freaking all of that experience just starts bankrolling for you. Let me get to the comments. Just kidding. It might be fat soluble. I think you're talking about ashwagandha. I have no idea why that matters, whether it's water soluble or fat soluble. Maybe because if it's water soluble, you're going to pee it out and it won't be in your body long term. I don't think it's that simple of how like it could be affecting you. Did I finish my thought on cannabis? No, I didn't. So the first few times I used it, I get asked this question all the time for people. What do you think about cannabis and psychedelics? I don't really use psychedelics. I haven't done any of the major ones that you see all these, spiritually looking people talking about. I found that even cannabis was a come down compared to the Kriya type practices that I do with breath work and movement. And I just felt like it was competing. And I also felt like eventually I quit dreaming and I felt really dehydrated, but not in the body, like dehydrated in the pineal gland. Like my brain was dehydrated. And then I start looking into it. And this is stuff that's not like on a blog post easily accessible, right? It's like I talk to this expert, ancient traditions, like compile, like it's just like after lots and lots of reflection on all of the knowledge that I personally have, I started to realize that, at least from my perspective, cannabis was heightening the state of awareness when you're on it. So I could remember things like as if I was there. Visually was way more enhanced. It was like this extra dimension of third dimension. It was still three-dimensional, but it was like, I can't even explain it. It was like another dimension of three-dimension. Hearing, could feel like I could hear the origin of the music. So even if I'm listening to a recording, I felt like I was like in the room while it was being produced. So it was like all of these like extra sensory things while on cannabis, even small amounts. But then when you're off it, I feel this like gray, dehydrated, dull, even dumb, like taking a long time to answer questions, a long time to think, a long time to make decisions. Also, lack of motivation. And then we start talking about DMT and then the things that get released, anandamine, the positive compounds that cannabis gives you, and the endocannabinoid system, and just like how it's not supposed to be used in abundance like that. These are compounds that we wouldn't necessarily be accessing every single day for hours, literally hours. You're high. These are things that, like, when you need them in flow state because you're being chased or you're hunting something or you're trying to figure out how to climb up a cliff, like naturally you would have these compounds utilized in our bodies for moments, from seconds to minutes. And so I just feel like we were burning out the magic of life by like infusing us to use it. Now, that's all to say that that's my experience. And I'd rather do things naturally. I'm just biased to doing that. And I know we're going on a tangent with cannabis, but I just feel like there's so many people that are using it that is probably an important thing to talk about. There's also high functioning users, just like there's high functioning alcoholics. There's majorly high functioning cannabis users because of everything I just said. It's like you're taking this state that was really meant for moments of our life and you're just in it all day long. You're going to be extremely high function. You can do great things. You can produce great art. You can have the most amazing conversation. You can pontificate ideas. You can download from source. I just feel there's a cost for that. There's a cost. You're borrowing that energy. And I'm not sure that I'm willing. I know that I'm not willing to sign that contract without really knowing what the cost of borrowing that heightened state is. So that's why I stopped a long, long time ago. I think it's been like 10 years. I use it once a month, no more, and very judiciously. I don't really like the spaced out aspect of it. I personally loved how I felt on it. It's just the after for me. Some people feel that while they're on it, they feel like completely disconnected. For me, I think I'm mostly like a super grounded person. So to get lifted up off the earth a little bit put me like in this perfect sweet spot. What happened to the handlebar mustache, bro? Dude, you're talking about 5 years ago. Well, 3 years ago as well. So in 2017, when I closed my gyms, I just felt like, what was life if I wasn't the fittest person in the room? If I wasn't, jacked and ripped and seemingly attractive. So I just quit cutting my hair. I quit eating protein. I tried to shed my muscle. I quit taking care of myself. I didn't shave my face for 5 years. And I recommend everybody really find out who they are without the grooming, without the stories. Because it was interesting looking in the mirror with a unibrow and mustache that went down below my chin and hair that was whatever it is. I mean, guys, I could probably count. Probably in the last 10 years, I've brushed my hair under 50 times. There's dreads like kind of permanently in them. And it's just like, what is it like how we're designed? And it's an interesting place to be. Videos froze. Is that still the case? Froze? Ira, is it still froze? All plant medicine needs ceremonial respect. True that. It's a ceremony. You're right. Balance is key. Low from Casablanca. It's also just super easy, right? Like, think about naturally. Like, there might have been one compound that would have taken extremely hard amount of work. I mean, I guess with marijuana, it's just like, it's a weed, right? We call it a weed. But it would take, in the Northern Hemisphere, it wouldn't be growing all year round. And now we have like DMT. So like we have this like poison from a toad. It's like imported from the other side of the earth. And we've got cannabis from Northern California. We've got iboga from Mexico. It's like combo from South America. Like we got hape from South America. I actually like the drops. What are they called? Sananga from Brazil. Like we got we got a worldwide, easy, accessible reach of mushrooms and all of this stuff. Like we have like a world of psychedelics just a phone call away. It's not like it's overload. It's a little bit overload. I was joking. I go full bearded barbarian for months on end constantly. Yeah, it's cool. I've been trying to quit Mary Jane for 2 years. I just joined Marijuana Anonymous 3 weeks. You are always in tune with what I need to hear. You just said the thing I needed to hear about the trade-off to quit. Well, while we're on the topic about quitting an addiction, I would also add to include something. So a lot of times people just want to quit something, but then you leave a void. So it's easier to quote quit something if you don't have to quit it because you're doing something more interesting. Then you're not actually quitting smoking weed. You're just doing something more interesting. So this kind of like philosophy of quitting keeps you tied to the thing. And then you go to this thing called Marijuana Anonymous, which I've never heard of before, but it's self-explanatory what it is. And then it's like your identity is that you were a user of this thing and now you are not. But you're still identifying as like this user of this thing. And so it's like your muse. It's this proud achievement that I overcame usage, but the usage still needs to be part of the story when there's plenty of other things that you can find that are more exciting than that. Making clay pots every night, running, exercise, meditation, breath work, painting, driving cars really fast. I don't know, like maybe you become interested in go-karting or making little trinkets or making writing utensils. But that's my preferred approach to quote quitting is it's the anti-quitting mechanism. It's just do something more interesting. And that can take some work. What you said about the pineal gland and brain dehydration hit home for me. I am quitting permanently. I will rely on Kriyas. So actually, this Yogi Bhajan, he talked about something called pinealine, but I can never find it. He's from India, so they have like different set of science there. It's all sort of word transmitted, and they say things differently than we do in the West. I think it was called pinealine, and he said that kind of what I was explaining, that when you smoke marijuana, you drain yourself of this compound. And a lot of these yogis, like everything about brain compounds and hormones, they were tuned into somehow. They know things that we don't even know in the West. Like the brain does things during certain times of the lunar cycle that they know about. The brain does things during fasting. If you guys have ever, like, one of the side effects of ketosis, you might taste this like sweet stuff in the back of your mouth. That is a mechanism. Chari mudra is this where you take your tongue and you stick it up into your midbrain and you access this amrita is what it's called. And that's actually the stuff that was in the movie The Second Avatar. They're like this amrita from the whales. They were taking it from the whales' brains. And it's crazy how all this stuff is kind of in movies, but it's made to be fiction. But that was like the substance of Avatar 2. But the marijuana is kind of like burning all of this stuff up. It's overutilizing it. And then even with the DMT thing, like people are like, it's the death molecule. It gets released when you're dying. So do it now and have a death experience. Okay. But what happens when you die? Are you just draining all of this? Are you like activating this experience that was otherwise reserved for the moment of death? And again, it's like, we don't know. Well, like, what happens when we die? I mean, there's lots of philosophy and teachings on that, and from especially interdimensional beings that have already crossed through, and they transmit down into channels and tell us these things. And there's lots of, the Egyptian mystery school and the Egyptian Book of the Dead Is it up here? I think but like there's teachings on what to do after you die, because there's people that have been beings that have been through it. I need to get back to the emotions, but I'm going to finish off these comments. Repeatedly doing the same thing, expecting different results is what helped me quit. Self-creation prison. Identity is a slippery slope for sure. I stopped drinking 2 months ago, but I've been using, so some people say kratom, but I'm just going to say kratom. And I feel it's my next addiction to quit. Right. I literally was just listening to a friend of mine go live an hour ago, and he was talking about a time in his life when he was addicted to kratom. It gives me energy and it helps me get things done. It sucks to be withdrawing. Yeah. I mean, kratom's it's an opioid. Are you saying I should replace putting smoke in my mouth with something else to soothe me when I feel tons of nervous excitement? I don't want to feel, or replace it with a non-oral activity. Yeah, I mean the oral fixation could be real, but if you've been addicted if you've been using it for 2 years, I'm not really sure that you have an oral fixation. I don't know if that's long enough to do that. And also, yeah, I mean, there's more questions to be asked about that. You might. There's lots of other reasons to have oral fixations as well. Addiction equals discipline. Just choose the right addictions. That's true. Look at the effort discipline one puts into maintaining addictions. Me, I am addicted to sunrise hikes through the woods. Yeah, that was a good comment. I don't know what it was. Thought it was a supplement. Not sure what that's referring to. Struggling to quit kratom. I didn't know what it was. I thought it was a supplement. Yeah, guys, I mentioned ashwagandha, kratom. Like anything can be sold, and who knows where it's coming from as well. So every emotion starts with 3 things. Stimulus. So the stimulus can be actually happen, or it can be something that you're thinking about. And then that's going to lead to a physiological shift, which examples of that is heart rate changing, posture changing, breath shallower so that you have like immediate access to it, tension in the fascia, like your fascia gets tense, your hormones change, even your nervous system kind of switches to sympathetic so that you're more heightened and less energy is going to things like digestion. And then you attach a meaning to it. You attach a meaning to why you're feeling this way. So you walk into the store, you see somebody you went to high school to, you feel something in your body, and then you attach a meaning to that. That person's a dickhead. I'm going to walk this way because all of that just happened. And if we catch it soon enough, we can reverse that, because it might not happen in a store with a stranger. It might happen with your partner in the car, that they say something that then causes, so that's the stimulus, and it causes a physiological shift. And then you put a meaning to that. Now you're feeling icky inside, and it's because of them, and F you. And so you raise your voice and you say that reasons why they're wrong. And really, from their perspective, they're just expressing to you something that they find joy in, completely like, and then you get triggered, physiological shift, attached meaning, and then you just immediately slam them down into the ground. You can see how that can be destructive to our life. Not just destructive to that person, but destructive to you, because you are interrupting the harmony of your relationships. But emotions are physical first. So it's not necessarily something you can think your way out of. It happens in the body. And so when we practice utilizing the body to open up the channels, when we start to feel things and we're well practiced at transmitting that through the body and using it as information, accessing that information, maybe it's a memory that has nothing to do with this person, and then releasing that in the moment without anybody else even knowing. That's one of the benefits of practices that I do at selfexpansion.app, which is a website. We work with being able to do that so that when this is happening, maybe next time, maybe 10 times from now, you don't even go through that because your body just recognizes that immediately and you let it go through. And you also can see the higher meaning of emotions. So what I mean by that, that's what we worked on this week in the practice, is something like anger. The meaning that we usually attach to it is like I'm angry at the person because I'm angry at the person. There's not really a meaning. We don't even go there because we get out of the logical part of our brain and now we're in the emotional state. And from here, we're looking at fighting or running or closing the door or breaking up because of anger. There's not really, well, why is the anger? What book or author can I read that explains in layman's terms that emotions are felt in the body first? I'm not really sure. I mean, the body keeps the score is kind of like the main one, but I don't think it is really exactly what I'm saying right here. That's more about fascia. Love you, Ra. Emotions are energetic at first, brother. Then it feels as if it was physical. I'd love to get in a topic with you guys. Yeah, I can agree with that. How do we feel the energy though? I mean, it's in the body is my main point. It's not happening logically. So my main point was that it's in the body. The organ systems are bringing in the energy. It's getting disrupted. It's getting disrupted. Distorted is the word I'm looking for. It's getting unharmonious, and that's a perspective for us. So anyways, what I was about to say was anger, something like anger is we're just feeling anger. We're feeling the energy of anger. Emotions are energetic. Yeah, it's energy and motion is another thing that's commonly said about emotion. Like that's what the source of that word is. It's energy and motion. So you got anger. What does that mean? So if we can add logic to it, and from a positive way, we can add logic to it, we can reveal the light, the wisdom of anger. So what anger does for you is it reveals boundaries because somebody has intruded, and so you feel anger. Something like guilt or shame, this reveals to you a greater possibility of behavior, right? So every emotion that's seemingly negative is just on one side of the pole of something greater. And when we try to think logically about it, that would be my first invitation is, what is this revealing to me? What is this revealing to me? And it just brings it back into us. And then we can do the movement, grounding, return to our breath, increase alignment in the posture to allow for the energy to move out of the body. What's another example? What's another like quote negative emotion? Shame, guilt, anger, sadness. Sadness is revealing the depth of care or love that you had for an experience or a person, right? So looking at it from that greater perspective allows for a dimension of experience with these emotions where we can have gratitude, thankfulness that it was revealed to us so that we are aware of our boundaries, of our connection, of our greater ability to act in a more aligned fashion. Now, if we don't do this, if we don't let the energy transmit into something meaningful within us, then it just stays within us. And even something meaningful, if you get angry and then you punch somebody in the face, that's a transmission of that anger and it won't stay within you, right? Like you got it out. Nowadays, we don't do that sort of stuff because we go to jail. 50 years ago, we probably would have gotten away with it. In certain sports, you can still get away with it. But nowadays we can like put a heavy bag in our garage or go to a boxing gym or go to the gym, or you transmit it into poetry. A lot of people live it out through movies, right? So they watch other people killing people on movies or robbing banks and getting away with it. And that's all us getting out these suppressed emotions, and then they get sort of expressed in our psyche through this screen that we get to experience the release of a lot of things. That's why like people like to watch blooper videos of people falling on their face and like the brain rot stuff on the scroll is all sort of like letting what's inside of us, the frustrations, flow out of us. Now, there's 4 types of people, though, if you keep it in. So number 1 is a suppressor. And so we all might identify with one of these or yeah, probably will identify with at least one of these. So suppressors just keep everything bottled in. And then it's just chaos inside. So even a person, a lot of suppressors are the happiest people. They're literally like the happiest people at the party. They're the loudest, they're the funniest. Usually this type of person grew up in a chaotic environment where it wasn't wise to let out their emotions, so they kept it bottled in. And they're also trying to be the clown, essentially, to alleviate the stress and anxiety around them. There's the exploders, and these people usually were the opposite. They actually had the ability to release emotions. Exploders keep it bottled up and then they explode. They like release it in a burst of energy, and then they move on. Right? It's like sometimes suppressors to a minor degree can become exploders, but true suppressors just always keep it bottled. They don't ever explode. They're just holding it in, and they're really good at doing that. Exploders, they hold it into a degree and then they just like release it. And then there's leakers. So leakers, things bother them, their emotions are in them, but then it leaks out. It leaks out at home, like with their partner. It leaks out in the words that they use. You know, they notice that the weather sucks. They notice that this thing sucks. They notice that they have to wait in a line and that fucking sucks. They're like dripping with this like ew energy, right? So the tone of voice they use, the side comments they make is like very like, they call it like passive aggressive as well. It's like this very like it's dripping into everything. So suppressors, exploders, leakers, and then the last one is transformers, which is kind of like the healthier, right? So you feel the emotion and you move it through the body, and then you turn it into an output which is useful and meaningful and for the good of everybody, because you've practiced that. If you're not practicing that, then you're going to be you're going to keep it inside like a suppressor, you're going to explode it out, or it's going to start leaking everywhere and you won't even know it. You won't even know it, but the people around you will. And so which one are you? Which one are you? Which one am I? I definitely think I used to be an exploder, but I played full contact sports. So that's where I got so much gratification from hurting people. So much. So once or twice every single week, and then every single day in practice as well, but it wasn't as bad in practice playing hockey. And then when I turned 17, 18, 19, 20, 21 years old, I could fight. I was like the fighter. I was the one that led the league in penalty minutes. One year I actually my last year I quit at the halfway point through the first semester. I quit, and I still led the league in penalties by the end of the year, which is crazy. But and then I kind of turned into, I think I was also a leaker because I just saw the worst in everything and everyone. Just the absolute worst. And I would say that I just started doing experiments, and now I kind of find it hard to see the worst in people. I see the best in everything. And maybe to a degree that's too optimistic, but I'm not sure. Okay, so the channels of transmission, breath is one of them. So breathing out of the nose, easy thing. Closing the mouth, even the placement of the tongue, put the tongue up in the roof of the mouth. The posture, check in with your spine. Are you slouching? How your pelvis feel? Can you move it around? Do you feel stiff? Do you feel stiffness in your body? All of this is broadcasting emotion. The person, I don't know if it was what type of person, I'll say that it was, but the person that said emotions are energetic, that's right. They actually come off of you. So how you're holding your body will transmit the energy of you, how you walk, how you talk, the tone of voice, right? The words that you choose to describe things, and really your intention. And a lot of times, because we're such a community-based species, a lot of the times when we are interacting with people, the motivation of how we speak reveals the emotions inside. And we're all good at tuning into this. We're all good at sensing when we talk to somebody else, whether that person is doing it from like a heart-centered place, or they're doing it to beat other people, they're doing it to get back at somebody, or they're doing a particular action to satisfy themselves, and why that is, like, we're all good at picking that up, which means that everybody else is picking up your motivations and your intentions and your emotions. And so a lot of people realize that they themselves are, prideful at being able to tell the intentions of others, also realize that pretty much everyone else can do the same thing. And that becomes important when you care about the people that you interact with. I'll tell a quick story and then we'll probably end it. I used to own gyms and I had a lot of people working for me, but I lived next to this store called Air One, which is like really famous now. But I was, I lived a half hour from my gym so that I could go to Air One on the way to the gym, on the way back to the gym. Every time I leave my house, I was basically going to Air One 3 to 5 times a day. When I wanted something to drink, when I wanted something to eat, it was just like where I would go for food. So I was there so much. And one time there was this really, really happy girl working behind the food part. And I said, hey, what's your vision of LA? Do you feel like working here is like, are you happy with this? Are you open to talking about working in a different environment? I own a couple gyms in downtown LA, and I could use somebody to work as staff behind the desk. It involves kind of what you're doing now, interacting with customers, being happy, telling people like have a good day, making, checking people in. It's kind of what you're doing right now, but you're not having to serve food, and it's just more chill. And she said, yeah. So she came and worked for me. And within a couple of weeks of working for me, she let me know that her old employees, her old friends, she mentioned that her old friends were like, you're really going to work for that guy? He's an asshole. She told me that just kind of like offhandedly, like my ex-friends or my ex-coworkers and friends can't believe I'm working for you because you're such a dick. And I was like, wait, what? Everybody thinks I'm a dick there. This place I'm going to multiple times a day. And then I reflected, and it was just because I was always stopping in there just to get, food. And I wasn't really interacting with the staff in a compassionate way. I wasn't interested in interacting with them. I was just, give me this, bye. Of course, there was a few people that I was super friendly with, but for the most part, I was just on a mission usually all the time when I would go there, even if that mission was to get my food and then go outside and sit with friends that were, at the tables. But it was like, I didn't really realize that people had negative connotation to how I was interacting with them. And I'm glad that she told me that, because then that was actually one of the pivotal moments of my life. And I realized that like I'm not trying to be angry or a dick to people, but that's how people are perceiving me. And that's not necessarily the intention that I'm setting out for. And so I just did a simple experiment. I smiled and said hi to everyone, customer or staff member. And at first it felt a little weird and awkward because I'm naturally shy and I'm not naturally that gifted at small talk. But that completely changed this scenario. Is like now I become the friendly one. And, but it was an effort. So why am I saying that? Because I know what it's like to be a dick. And I also know what it's like to hopefully not be such an asshole to people. Observing emotions is an opportunity for gratitude and receipt of information. This orientation to use it as a portal or doorway, gently exit it from the body. And I think that in my gyms, I definitely was the asshole type coach because I was raised by hockey coaches. So I had that mentality to my clients, and it was kind of like expected there, but I didn't realize it was leaking out into just everyday interactions. I was an exploder, alternating with leaker. Now I get it out of dance, meditations, breath, and meditations. Thanks to you. You're welcome. Oh, I love this. I have to be back at work for one more session, but I'm grateful I found you in your message. Thank you for saying that. Julie Church. Nice verbalizing, easy to understand, visualize, empathize with your ideas and wisdom. Based on what you were saying, and guys, thanks for the comments. Thanks for what you're saying. Can I conclude that intentions equal motivation? I think they come from different areas of the body. From a yogic standpoint, intention comes from the left thigh, the left leg, and motivation comes from the right thigh and leg. So the left side of the body is more about like internal, like incoming energy, and the right side of the body is more like the externalizing energy. So when you're taking in energy, it's being filtered through your intentions that then get translated into your motivations to act. So there so what was the question? Can I conclude that intentions equal motivation? Not necessarily equal, but they do. It kind of like it filters through the intentions and the motivation. So I think the way you answered the question, I think that I would agree with you. Maybe I wouldn't use the word equal, but it's kind of like it does equal the type of motivations that you'll gravitate towards based on your intention. Question for the mods. Is there any resources to find someone in my local area certified to help me with exercises? So I'm more of a what happened to you and Christopher on Monday? So is there a resource to search for coaches? Just go to the website and there's a community, and in that community you can ask questions. Is anybody in Spokane, Washington? It might be no, and then maybe that person's you in 3 years. What happened to you and Christopher on Monday? We're always doing it. 80% of the time it's reposted. I'm not the one in charge of reposting, so I don't know if he forgets it or what, but I don't want to push him like, hey, post a replay. But I do post replays on my YouTube. So Raw of Earth on YouTube has the live that Chris and I just did on Monday. And I also cut out all the dead space, so it's a little bit shorter. I think it was an hour and 10 minutes long. And then after I edited it, it's like 55 minutes long. Raw of Earth website program is located online at selfexpansion.app. Thank you, Melissa Madison. Oh, I missed it somehow. Thanks, Rob. Yeah, it was live. It's just not reposted. Okay, everybody. Sayonara, peace, and love and emotional expression to you all. Thanks for chatting. Bye-bye.